Hello, hello. Sorry, I'm
Hello.
gonna put my little thingies in here. Hello.
Doing?
How are you?
Love the glasses.
Thank you. I can't see without them, so I figured I might as well enjoy the glasses that I have to wear.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for taking the time to meet today. I know you're very busy, so
No, I'm very excited. This is very important.
yes, it is. I'm so excited to talk to you. I'll try and keep it concise. I know you have a lot going on,
No
so
worries.
okay. Yes, awesome. So I guess I just have like a few questions I wanted to start with, and I'll
Sure.
introduce myself. My name is Nikki Dawkins. I'm the Southeast Regional Coordinator at Period Movement, the national organization, and I also run the Period Miami chapter as president. Thank you. And I'm also a full spectrum doula and reproductive health educator. So this is very
You're
important to me. Yes, and I actually just had my daughter about a week ago.
Oh
So
my God.
I have
Where
a
is
little
she?
menstruator myself. She's
She's sleeping. Okay, I won't.
no, no, you're fine. She's good. She's out.
Oh,
But if she if she cries, I'll get up and get her. She'll be all right.
deal.
Um, but I think even just with having her like this, it's even more important now because I have a son and now I have a daughter, and I'm like, I need to make this happen before she grows up and gets her period.
It definitely puts things into a different perspective.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, I really just have a few questions here for you. I wanted to know first where your passion for this comes from.
So I think, very much like you said, I had my daughter now 4 years ago. I had boy girl twins, and I had them just before my first legislative session, 2 weeks before that first session. And, just being a new mom yourself and doing what you do every single day, you sort of look at the world a little bit differently when you have a little girl, right? And it had been a long time since I was in school. On my period and knowing what that meant, right, to little girls in school. And I knew that just walking through life in this process, I'm oftentimes the only woman in the room, the only woman sitting at a table, the only one, having some of these conversations where it's typically older males who cannot, they just don't get it. They may be lovely individuals, but they don't know what that means and they don't know what that feels like. And then, when I dove a little deeper and learned that 1 in 5 girls either leave school early or miss school entirely because of their because they are really just in a place where they don't have the ability to access menstrual products, or they're not feeling well. We knew, and I knew, that I needed to make it different, and I needed to make people pay attention to it and eliminate as many hurdles as possible for girls and for anyone who really needed to have access. And to me, again, like you said, I really have to make this world a different place for my daughter and for her friends in a way that, they weren't talking about these things when I was a kid either. And so, I think that that's sort of where this this fight and desire and drive in me came, because when I was hurt, when I was, a teenager in school, like I was just trying to survive and get to the next day, being a survivor of sexual abuse, and just trying to live to tomorrow, right? Like these weren't issues that I had the ability to advocate for or pay attention to, quite frankly. And so, now I just you see the world in a different way, and you have, and I feel an immense responsibility to fix it.
That's amazing.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks.
you have like a quite a story.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's so brave of you as well to kind of tackle this. I know it's a very sensitive topic, which is, I guess, what goes into my next question. And some people think that this is not important. What would you say to people who feel like this is just frivolous and
I would say that those people probably have penises and don't have vaginas. And, it's funny because like people don't know what to do with me here, I think, because like I'll start saying things and they're like, she just said penis and vagina. I'm like, yes, I did. And like, we should be talking about these things. This is not an unimportant issue. This is basic hygiene should not be a luxury. That is insane. Like I think about it, and you're a new mom. Like it always blew my mind when people would say things like, I got to take a shower. Like that is some sort of like a gift, right? Like you got to shower today. That is like the basic necessity of like hygiene, right? Like I wanted to shower. I wanted to be okay. Like that is not a luxury. And I just think like sometimes like these things are identified as luxuries of what that is just not the case. Again, how can a young girl be focused on, we want to put, girls in STEM and make them focused on math and science and all of these things, which is great. But if she is afraid, if she's worried or she's not feeling well, or she has to keep, um, a tampon in or have a sanitary napkin in longer than she should because she does not have any more at home,
Yeah.
how is she supposed to focus? How is she supposed to excel? That is insane. Like when you think about it, people who menstruate typically spend around $150 to $300 annually on period products, which can be a strain on low income students and their families. And 23% of Florida's children are living below the poverty line, and 66% of public school children qualify for that free and reduced price of lunch. So it is a very real issue. I find it to be obnoxious when people say, this is like, there's that machine in the bathroom. When was like, and again, it was typically people with penises that say this, like that machine that you think is there never works. It is never stocked. And if it were free, that would solve all of our problems. And the bottom line to me is girls pay a price when these products aren't free. And that should not be the case. Providing them to these young individuals will go a long way towards equality in education, which I think is really important.
No, I totally agree with you. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because I've had some of the schools that I've gone and spoke at where I find out that girls are actually kind of rationing their period products. They're like, oh, I can only use this one pad today, or I won't have enough to get through my cycle, which is really unfortunate.
And we see that too. We have a similar bill when it comes to diapers and incontinence products.
Yeah.
Like since again you're a new mom, and I joke around, but it's not funny at all. I started advocating for that bill when my kids were newborns in diapers. I'm going to be in incontinence products when that bill passes, if it does ever. It's something that people don't think about when you leave a child in a diaper or you're utilizing and rationing period products. Like those young individuals suffer, and that's a very real reality. So I think that those are just things that people really do need to think about. That is not, you know, something frivolous or a luxury.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the diapers too. I do want to focus on the periods, but I was a white mom and I could not believe that diapers were not a part of the program. I also work with Miami Diaper Bank as well, so we love you over there
Yeah, thank you.
because of all of these things.
One day
But
we're going to get this to happen, I swear.
they all go together. I feel like it's very all
Mhm.
connected, and like you said, it's related to health and hygiene. And I could not grasp the reason why that wasn't included in these government programs. And even with periods as well, I feel like that should be something you should be able to get with your EBT.
Again,
Or
typically written by
yeah,
people with penises.
yeah.
Gonna say, just gonna say.
So I did want to ask, like, what are the specific pieces of legislative that you're doing that we should kind of promote and be aware of?
Yeah, so Senate Bill 242, which is Learning with Dignity, will ensure that girls in Florida public schools have access to menstrual products at no cost. The piece of legislation would require both sanitary napkins, pads, and tampons to be provided in all female restrooms in K to 12 public schools. I think that there was a piece of legislation that passed not too long ago related to incarcerated women and to make sure that they had these types of products. And I think that that is wonderful and very important, right? However, when I kind of sat back and thought to myself, well, what about those kids in school? What about the little girl in, fifth grade or sixth grade who just really is sitting there afraid and nervous and can't focus and can't pay attention to what's happening in front of her. That was when, I started, digging really deep, more deeply into the cost of this and what this would look like in schools across the state. And so that is particularly where kind of that piece of legislation that we're focusing on. And, I, it's so sad because we have not yet had a hearing, and we're hoping that we can, and we'll get one soon. But we're continuing to have the conversations.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that next. Like, what is the status of the bill? What are some things that we can do to help get it passed, or what can other people do to kind of make this happen and support this bill?
So I think like a lot of the conversation right now is unfortunately due to some of the budget shortfall due to COVID and some of the things that we're having to look at as a state, that it's a bill that may not make it over the finish line this year, which is truly disappointing. My comment to that would be, can you really put a price on a child's education, on a young girl's education? Again, these things are not luxuries. These are basic hygiene, human need things. And so we're really, really hoping to at least start the conversation, and to try to continue to have some of this dialogue. Again, we do this for women who are incarcerated, which is very important. But again, these are children in our K-12 system who are in need. Again, when you're having to ration your products for the month, what if you are a young person who has a heavier flow than some? What then? So there are these issues that really do exist, and I think that again, we hope to continue to have the conversation. I'm so disappointed that we are where we are, where this is not something that we think that we can get over the finish line this year. But I do think that together our voices do matter. And I think that when we reach out and start having these conversations and having dialogue surrounding these issues, we can make a difference. And so I'm hoping that if not this year, we work really hard to make sure that this is a reality in the near future.
That's amazing, and I think that's the best we can do, because I this is this the third year that this is that we've been working on this?
Yeah, it is. And it's so frustrating. It's so disappointing. It's it's sad that, we're having some of the conversations that we're having today, right? On some of the issues that we're having. Again, like we're so focused on, in the legislature right now, like some of this red meat issue, it's that at the end of the day is not going to help young people. And so I wish that we had an opportunity to hear some of these bills that I know would make the difference in the lives of young women and young people in our state. And I'm hoping that we're going to get there eventually. It is unfortunate that we have the budget constraints that we do, but I'm hoping very much that we're going to be able to have those things cross the finish line.
Yeah, and I can see how COVID can totally affect that. And it's good that you want to keep pushing it, even if it doesn't go this year. I think you have so much more support because periods are such a hot topic in our country right now and in the world, really. So
It
you
is.
have a lot of support, I think, moving forward. And any way we can help you with that,
I mean, and it's also like a health and safety concern. Like if somebody is keeping in, a tampon longer than they should, they can get very, very sick. I know that these things happen because these girls reach out. Like we have, some of these conversations, and I'm 36 years old. It wasn't until I was 35 that I learned about what a menstrual cup was, or a menstrual disc, and started using those because for me, it just made more sense. But young people today aren't necessarily having any of those conversations. And I think that we've got to normalize, access. This is, we've got to talk about these issues, and we've got to let people know. I was also very stricken by women experiencing homelessness and having to decide between eating and what to do when they are on their period. That is insane to me that today in 2021, women are having to decide whether or not to eat or to use a hygiene product during their cycle. That to me is wrong. And we have a lot of work to do. And again, there are a lot more men than there are women here. And so I get that they don't get it, but that doesn't give them an excuse, because at the end of that day, young women suffer.
Do you think that, because I know I say this a lot, I feel like that's kind of speaks to the deeper problem, which is just the education. I'm sure you know in Florida, like sex and reproductive education is just like not great. It's separated. And I know I have a son and I teach him about periods because I feel like both genders really need to know about periods and to create more empathy and understanding around the problem so we can get to the solution that you're trying to create for us. But do you think that in addition to the Learning with Dignity bill, that in the future there might be something surrounding sex education in Florida schools that can kind of help with this?
I think that we're living in a time, at least in our legislature, where it's extremely conservative. And so I fear there is a bill currently that I don't particularly like, because it's an opt-in, not an opt-out when it comes to sex education throughout the state. And I think that, to your point, exactly what you're saying is extremely dangerous. Sometimes this is the only way children are going to have any of that educational information given to them. And I think that um, is not right. I think it's, teaching abstinence is not the way to go, right? Like there's just, and that is, a component here. And that's some of the things that we're talking about, right? And so I tried to offer a differing opinion. It's a colleague of mine sort of asked me about, this particular sex education bill. And I said, well, what about your kids who are 4? And I said that if you ask my son the name of his private parts, he would tell you that he has a penis and testicles. And my daughter would tell you that she has a vagina. Like that's what they would tell you. Why? Because I believe in teaching proper names for private parts. I believe that we have a responsibility, to do better than when I was growing up, right? And there's safety reasons for those things. And so, that's I agree with you, and I'm very worried that right now in the current temperature here in Tallahassee, that's something that may pass, and that is sort of scary. That is because again, then they don't get that information.
Exactly. Because not everybody is going to do kind of like what you're doing, and kind of explain these things. A lot of people do rely on the school system to educate their kids about these things, either because they don't want to talk about it, or maybe it's cultural, or whatever. So
Or they
yeah, I
just
didn't know.
growing up didn't get that information.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
Generational
not
as
something
well.
to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly. It's
something
how we
to
all got here.
empower
That's
you.
what I say. Right.
Hmm.
Everything started with the period, including the
You
penises. It's just how
right.
it. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, I hear you.
I guess my last question for you, because I know we're running low on our time, is some of the obstacles that I know on the ground with some of the organizations we work with, which Beauty Initiative, the Alliance for Period Supplies, we have a lot of great allies that we're trying to, you know, make a coalition to make this happen.
Mhm.
But one of the things that comes up is people are very wary of the K through 12 because they don't want like young kids talking about periods, even though girls are getting their periods at a younger and younger age
Mhm.
as the years go by. That's just what's
Mhm.
happening. So we have girls in elementary school that are getting their periods at 8 or 9 years old now.
Mhm.
How what do you think is a way that we can kind of combat that and kind of make people get over the whole K through 12? Because I've had some people be like, oh, well, why don't they just do it from 6 to 12 instead of kindergarten?
So I think it's part of because you have to kind of have a universe, right? So if we did now we're kind of broken up into two systems, right? There's high school and then there's like lower school, like the little school, really. So it's like they have like the entire K-12 system within the Department of Education. We could do high schools, but then some of those middle and middle grades are lumped in a same kind of school setting placement wise with like a K to middle, right? So then it's kind of all a part of that whole system. I don't disagree that that does probably turn people off. in this universe. And so we have toyed with just doing even high school for now, right? Because again, perfect possible change comes incrementally sometimes, even if we don't prefer that to be the case. So we've played with it a lot. And then, there are the purists out there that say, no, why would if you do this, and again, when you're dealing with, you know, this process, it is not a perfect process. But all change, change, any change that is better than where we are, I think is good. So we have had some of those conversations, even with staff here, to try to even get the bill heard. Just, can we do it high school? What would the cost be if it was just high school? And so we've had some of those conversations. And I'm hoping that, next year we'll be in a place where perhaps financially we'll be able to make some of those different decisions. And maybe we do start with the high school. So that would be what, I haven't been in high school in so long, 12, 11, 9th through 12th settings, with the 9th grade through 12th grade. And then maybe have the nurse have some of those products, and some of those others. But I think that you're right there, and there's so many different sides to it. But hopefully we're going to get to a place where, no matter where you are, if you're a young person in a school in the state of Florida and you are in need of a feminine hygiene product, that you're able to access it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And I wish you all the best with the bill
Thank
this
you.
year. We're pushing for it. And if there's anything we can do, petition or talk to our school systems or whatever we can do on the ground, please let us
Thank
know,
you.
because
I
we want this
will.
done.
I will. And congratulations on your new baby.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Yes. Bye. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
You too. Bye.
That was awesome. Okay. How do I stop this? I need to work on my Zoom skills.